if you are thinking about buying a home, choosing the right mortgage lender can make all the difference, from your interest rate to how smooth the entire process feels. So for today's Real Talk Real Estate segment, Alana Grant breaking down what buyers should look for when it comes to choosing a lender. Good morning, Alana.
Good morning.
Yes, okay, so this is a really important topic, and I was actually talking with somebody yesterday at the dog park randomly, and they were talking about their concern and kind of intimidation about going through the process of picking a right mortgage lender. And I said, girl, I got something for you tomorrow morning. Alana's going to break it down for us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes.
So people don't realize how important it is to pick a quality mortgage lender. There's a lot of emphasis put on picking the right realtor, which is important, but the mortgage lender is the one who gets your loan closed. So we could find you a house, but they actually close the loan. And most buyers are using a mortgage lender or broker to purchase their homes. And so if you are taking out a loan to purchase your home, I absolutely recommend finding a quality mortgage lender.
There you go. Now you have given us 3 simple question steps to keep in mind when choosing the lender. Let's break down that first one.
Okay, so the first one is making sure that your mortgage lender is a good communicator. Okay, and so there are different elements to it, but the first part is making sure that they can explain to you the mortgage process on your level.
Yes.
There are people who buy homes all the time, and they understand all the acronyms like DTI and what your middle score is, and they all understand all that kind of terminology that goes into buying a home. However, if this is your first time buying a home, or if this is your first time buying a home in a long time, you need a mortgage lender who can explain to you what they're saying in your terms. And so especially when you're spending that kind of money. And so you want to understand what you are doing and what they are talking about.
Exactly.
Sounds simple, but it really does go a long way.
And it makes a huge difference.
It does, because it kind of unnerves you when it comes to spending the money and just going through the process as it is. And so I always recommend having someone who is good at explaining what they do to people who don't do what they do, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes plenty of sense. And I think, too, it's important to know that it's okay to say you don't understand.
Yes.
Like, advocate for yourself, because I think a lot of times people are like, well, maybe I should already know this. Nobody was born knowing how to buy a house, right? And so that's why you have your mortgage lender and your realtor walking you through that process. Now, one of the other things that you pointed out that I thought was very interesting as well is know what loan programs they offer.
Yes, so there are so many different programs out there, not just for first-time home buyers, but buyers in general. And so in South Carolina, the main program that we use for first-time home buyers is the South Carolina Housing Program. That program does down payment and closing cost assistance. They do FHA and conventional loans. I believe they have USDA loans, but there's such a ton of products out there that it's really hard for a buyer to research them all. The lenders, however, that is their job. And realtors, we kind of know too, because we want to know who the lenders are who work with these kinds of programs, so that when a client comes to us and say, hey, I have a good credit score, I have decent income, I have low debt, I do not have the cash to put down, 20% on a home. A lot of people kind of go over the fact that the average home price right now is $350,000. 20% of that is a $70,000 down payment.
Wow.
And so when you have a lender who has a 0% down conventional loan, or has a 3% down conventional down payment program, or you get some down payment closing cost assistance, you want to know who those people are. And so it's our job as agents to know who those lenders are, but it's also the lender's job to be able to promote those products in the community so that people can go to them and ask further questions about it.
And I love that you talk about that there's different products out there, because I think there's a misconception that if you don't have that $70,000 ready to go, then you can't get a home. But if you know your lender and what programs that they offer, then you know that, hey, maybe I can figure out a way to do that without dropping $70K off the bat, right? So that's why it's so important. Now, one of the things too that you talked about that I'm really excited to get into is how to navigate conflict when it comes to your mortgage lender. This is why we call it Real Estate Real Talk, because we're getting into things that a lot of people may not know, something that maybe only agents know. And yes, handling conflict is important when deciding who you're going to go with.
It is because it's a combination of the first 2 points. Like, communication is key for 2 reasons. Not just for the lender to be able to explain what's going on, but also how often they communicate, how often do they update you and your agent or the rest of the team on the process of the loan and how things are going. How do they communicate to their team, their underwriters, their loan processors, making sure that their team is all on the same page, but also helping you to be comfortable enough to be a good communicator with them. I tell my clients, if the lender asks you for something, consider it homework. You have a 24-hour turnaround because you want to be able to close your loan within the contractual time that we put on the offer, but also to be transparent. And I'm a
Come on.
Say this slow.
Real estate, real talk.
I'm going to say this slow. A lot of people try to hide things that are less desirable in their finances from the lenders. But I tell them to, when you go to the lender, be prepared for them to know everything short of your blood type. They are going to know everything in your financial history. And they do that to protect their own interests. But when you hide things and then they pop up, after you're knee deep into the deal, it could really cost you time and money.
Yes, you just have to really be an open book. I remember when I was starting to go through the home buying process, they were like, yeah, we want to see your bank statements. But and I was like, oh, I'm embarrassed about the amount of times I went to Chipotle. But they got to see it, right?
They do. Your bank statements, your tax returns, your pay stubs, and all of your pay stubs. Like, they want to see everything that you bring in and everything that you take out. And a lot of people get very hesitant about somebody knowing, because we have family members who don't know that much about us, but the bank wants to know all of that because they want to, if you will, trust but verify that you can pay your mortgage.
Absolutely. And I think too, when you talk about that, it's like sometimes people go to the doctor and they're like, well, I'm embarrassed to talk about my health history, but the doctor's like, I've seen a million of what you got. Like, it's just another body part. I think it's the same for mortgage lenders. Like, you might be like, oh, I'm not the most proud of this. However, they go through thousands of these type of statements all the time.
And they're really desensitized to it. Nothing really surprises realtors or lenders at this point. We've seen so much. If you've worked long enough with enough different kinds of people, you've seen all kinds of things. But I mean, we've seen everything from people having incredible financial portfolios to people hiding child support payments and that coming out in the middle of the transaction. So we've seen a lot. And so we say just be upfront with the information so that we can prepare you best for the transaction.
And then let me ask you this as well, because I have a family member that just went through the home buying process, and one of the things that they loved was the mortgage lender was like, you are almost there, and they helped walk them through getting financially, they weren't there quite yet, but they helped them walk through getting financially ready so they could be in a good position to buy a house. And so that's one of the things too that I love about mortgage lenders is they will help you create the steps so that way you can buy a home.
And we've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Go talk to the lender. Like, when people get scared to do the application, they think that they're not ready. But realtors and lenders, we're commission based. So we are going to do what we can to help you get yourself ready. And a lot of times people, and I'll say this, particularly with my younger buyers, they'll try to fix it before they go to the mortgage lender. And sometimes they do more damage. Like, I only work with people who work with people. And so, I've heard some of my preferred lenders say, oh, they thought it would be a good idea to pay off their car. But then that closed one of their credit lines, and then their credit score dropped. And they didn't know that that's what it would look like on the back end to a lender. And so there are certain things that do sound good and, that might be good for your debt to income ratio, that might be bad for your credit. And so you have to really talk to that lender because they're the expert in that, and they can help navigate your individual financial profile. Again, we talked about that broad information versus that specific advice.
Yeah.
And I always recommend going to a lender to get that specific advice versus, using that broad information and then going to the lender to try to clean it up.
Yes, such good information there. Real Estate Real Talk with Alana Grant. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't tell you how you could get in contact with Alana, so tell us.
Thank you. You can visit my website at www.alanaismyrealtor.kw.com.
Love it. All right, my friends. And as always, we're going to put this on our website, WLTX.com. So whether you plan on buying a house now or later, all of these segments will be on our website to help you and your loved ones navigate this process as smoothly as possible.